Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Crayon Lane Teach, and today you're going to be learning about the top mistakes that you want to avoid if you are starting your new TPT store, or even if you've already got one that's established. So if you think that's something that you'll find useful, keep on watching. So the first mistake that you want to avoid when creating your Teachers Pay Teachers resources is not flattening your products or securing them. So this means that once you've created your resource and it's all finished, you need to somehow secure it or flatten it. Now what this means is that other people who download that won't be able to then copy or take any of the clip art, the backgrounds, the borders or the fonts. Now a lot of the time you'll notice that when you're downloading the clip art and things that you're using for your resources, there'll be a terms of use page, and normally on the terms of use page of all the things you're using, it'll have as a condition, make sure that you flatten or secure their sort of art or their borders and things. And this is, as I said, this is so that other people don't take it and lift it right from your resource, obviously without paying for it. So an easy way to do this is obviously just using Adobe. However, you do have to have the paid version of Adobe to be able to do this. I figured out a way to do this. It's a little bit longer, it takes a bit longer, but it's free. So if you're interested in seeing how I flatten my products, then maybe comment below and I'll show you how I do mine. So yeah, that's the first thing that you want to avoid doing when you are creating your TPT resources. So the second mistake that you want to avoid doing is not giving credit to any of the clip art artists, people that you've gotten backgrounds from, fonts and things. So as part of their terms of use, they will often have a part in that saying that they want you to give them credit for the work that they've done, obviously. So you need to look really carefully at what they're asking you to do, whether it's going to be putting their logo on or just writing the name of their page. So that's the first part of this mistake. There's a second part to this mistake as well, which is not giving yourself credit. So a lot of the time people might put the name of their store on the front cover of the resource, but not actually on every single page. And when you think about it, somebody can easily just print off the pages of the worksheet, leave the front cover, and then you don't have any credit on that piece of work that you've created. So that's the second part to the second tip, is that not giving yourself credit for anything that you've created. Now what I do is I actually type at the bottom of every single page of a resource that I created by Crayon Lane Teach, and you can add the date as well if you want to. So the third mistake that I'm going to talk about today is all about previews. And again, there's actually two parts to this mistake. So the first part is actually not creating your previews. So obviously when you think about you wanting to buy something, you kind of want to see what you're buying. So a thumbnail and a front cover is just, not enough for some people. They want to be able to see examples of maybe the worksheets and things that you're making, or maybe boom cards or whatever. They want to kind of see it working. So definitely include previews when you're uploading your product to TPT. There's actually, little bits that you can add it in, and so it's really, really easy. The second part to this mistake is if you're uploading previews, so a picture of your worksheet, make sure and add a watermark to it, because again, people can easily take that picture, screenshot it or copy and paste it, and then somehow print it off, and then that's them got an example of your work again without them buying it. So there's two parts again to this mistake. Include previews, and obviously if you are including previews, make sure and add a watermark across your worksheet, even in like a faint coloured font, just so that people can't copy it without obviously purchasing it from you. So the fourth mistake that you want to avoid is not including a contents page. So sometimes you might be creating a resource that's got differentiated levels in it. So for example, maybe looking at numbers 0 to 5, 0 to 10, 0 to 20, or maybe you're creating a resource with a selection of different resources. So a lot of the time teachers won't really want to print off the entire bundle in one go, and they'll want to get to the page that they need as quickly as possible. So including a contents page will really help with this, with having all your page numbers and exactly what you're going to find on each page. So that's the fourth mistake that you want to avoid, is not including a contents page. So the fifth mistake that we're going to talk about is not linking similar products in your product description on Teachers Pay Teachers. So when you're uploading your product onto Teachers Pay Teachers, you would need to fill in a product description, and on your product description you would talk about what your product's all about, who it's aimed at. Now a big mistake here would be missing out on the free advertising and not linking similar products. So if you think about it, your customer or potential customer is already looking at that product, they're already interested in that product, so why not link similar products, and hopefully they'll click on those links and then go and purchase those similar products. So that's the fifth mistake that you want to avoid, is not linking similar products in your product description. So let's recap the top 5 mistakes so far that you want to avoid when creating your Teachers Pay Teachers resources. So our first mistake was not flattening your products. The second mistake was not including credits in your product. The third mistake was not including previews in your product. The fourth mistake was not including a contents page in your product. And the fifth mistake was not linking similar products in your product description. So the next mistake that we're going to talk about is all about thumbnails. So mistakes that you want to avoid when creating your thumbnails is making your text too small, adding too much to your text so it's difficult to read, adding too many images or adding too small images again so it's difficult to see. So another part of this mistake as well that I see is that people sometimes forget where people are viewing their thumbnails. So a lot of the time you're going to be looking at thumbnails on your Teachers Pay Teachers store on a tablet or a phone. So these thumbnails are going to look a lot smaller than if you were looking at them on a desktop PC. So that's another thing you need to consider, is where people are actually looking at your thumbnails, and you really need to keep that in mind when creating your thumbnails. So the next mistake that you want to avoid in your Teachers Pay Teachers store is having too many free products. So some people might think that having a lot of free products is going to entice customers to come to your store, then hopefully then start to buy your paid products. However, sometimes that can actually have the opposite effect, because if you have quite a lot of free products, it can actually make potential customers question the quality of your products. So then fair enough, they might come on and download your free stuff, but that might not necessarily translate into sales for your paid products. So that's the next mistake that I'd probably try and avoid, is having too many free products. So the next mistake we're going to talk about when creating your Teachers Pay Teachers resources is not including Common Core standards. So you'll notice that when you upload your Teachers Pay Teachers resource onto the website, there's a drop down box that asks you to include Common Core standards. Now that's not what we call them here in Scotland, however I know that in the US that's obviously sort of all the things that they meet within their curriculum. So again, a big mistake here is not adding those in, because that actually makes your resource more searchable. So if you add in that your resource hits these certain standards, if there are teachers out there that are looking for a resource to cover these certain standards, then that means that they're more likely to find your resource in the search. So that is the next mistake that you want to avoid making, is not including Common Core standards when you're uploading your product. So the next mistake you want to avoid when creating your Teachers Pay Teachers products is using too much of copyrighted material. So what I mean by that is anything that's associated with Disney, anything that's associated possibly with Dr. Seuss, or anything like that. You really need to watch what you're using, because even sometimes if you just include the name of the book and the title of your product, or lines out the book or anything like that, you can actually get into a bit of trouble with copyright. So another thing as well you need to be careful of is if you're creating resources to sell that has Bitmoji in them, because obviously you didn't create those images, so you need to think about how you're going to give credit to that image. Now personally I would just avoid using anything like that just to avoid any problems, but if you're really wanting to use those types of materials, I urge you to really look into it, do your research and figure out what you need to do just to keep yourself right if you do want to include those kind of things in your teaching resources. So the next mistake that we're going to talk about when creating your Teachers Pay Teachers resources is not actually related to creating it or to uploading it or anything like that. It's something that if you don't do is going to probably make your life a lot harder when you're creating things. So this mistake is not creating an effective filing system on your laptop or your computer to store all the things that you're going to need when creating your Teachers Pay Teachers resource. So when you think about it, you're going to have things like clip art, backgrounds, fonts, resources that you're working on, resources that are completed, resources that you've flattened, and actually you really don't want to make any mistakes, especially with sorting between a flattened resource that's all secure and a resource that's not been flattened yet that people can easily lift things off of. So a big mistake here would be not creating an effective filing system on your computer. So what I personally do is I have different folders for things like as I said, borders, clip art, backgrounds, fonts, different types of clip art as well, which makes things much easier when you're trying to create things. But also I have to be very careful about where I save my resources that I'm working on, where I save resources that I've completed that aren't yet secured, and then where I save resources that are all secure, converted to a PDF and are ready to upload, because I really don't want to make the mistake of uploading an unsecure resource for people to purchase. So that's us covered all 10 mistakes that you want to avoid when creating your Teachers Pay Teachers resources. I'm just going to pop them up right here, so if you want to make a note of them, now is the perfect time to do it. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, make sure and hit the thumbs up. If you'd like to see any of my future videos about teacher tips, teacher tricks, Teachers Pay Teachers or anything else teacher related, make sure and hit subscribe. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.